Have you ever stopped to really think about how a simple act of helping can unexpectedly complicate your life in ways you never imagined? Sometimes we just say yes, lending money to friends, doing favors, or attending events to please others, without realizing those yeses can be the first pieces leading to much more complicated consequences in our personal lives and relationships. These seemingly harmless actions, when repeated, can drain you mentally and financially and disrupt your closest relationships. This is the trap of unconscious endurance, where you give too much without setting the necessary boundaries to protect yourself. In this series, we'll dive deep into 5 common favors we often grant in daily life that seem harmless, but can destroy your balance if you don't handle them properly. These requests come repeatedly, making it hard to say no, because nobody wants to disappoint others or be labeled selfish. But what's important is that behind those yeses, you're facing an internal battle to maintain control over your life. Without boundaries, you risk losing yourself. Learning to recognize these favors and say no firmly yet lovingly and respectfully will be key to protecting your happiness and inner peace. The trap of lending money to loved ones when helping becomes a burden. Lending money to friends or family seems like a noble and compassionate act. You think you're simply extending a helping hand to someone close going through financial hardship. But behind this lies one of the most common traps people fall into when trying to show kindness. When someone asks to borrow money, you often feel emotional pressure, especially if they're going through serious difficulties. The urge to help, not wanting to disappoint them or seem selfish, can quickly lead you to agree. Yet what starts as goodwill can turn into a heavy burden, both financially and emotionally. The complexity lies in the shift of dynamics between lender and borrower the moment money changes hands. It's no longer just a financial transaction, but comes with expectations. The lender hopes for timely repayment as agreed, while the borrower often prioritizes other urgent needs over paying back the loan. This mismatch in expectations breeds discomfort and simmering resentment over time. You might notice rising tension as debts remain unsettled, promises get delayed, and excuses pile up. So, how do you reclaim your money gracefully without seeming rigid or cold? The answer isn't simple, but isn't complicated either. Set clear boundaries and maintain mutual respect and communication. If repayment keeps getting delayed, choose to have an honest conversation, understand the reasons, suggest reasonable repayment options, and keep the dialogue positive to avoid conflict. In reality, many get stuck in a vicious cycle of empty promises, excuses, and postponements. Borrowers fear ruining relationships. Lenders feel exploited, but don't know how to address it openly. The result, friendships and family bonds break down, and conflicts drag on unresolved for years. Setting boundaries isn't just about protecting yourself. It's also a way to maintain inner peace and prevent important relationships from fracturing. If you've ever been in this situation, you know how hard it can be to face this challenge. When you lend money to someone, it's not just a simple financial exchange. It's a complex transaction filled with emotions and expectations. Lenders often carry the hope that repayment will happen on time, sometimes unconsciously placing heavy or unrealistic demands. Meanwhile, borrowers may be under financial stress, anxiety, or even shame about their situation. Borrowers often feel guilty and fear that delayed or missed payments will damage the relationship. But they might also face unforeseen difficulties like job loss, illness, or urgent expenses. This pressure creates tension, leading them to postpone repayment and avoid direct conversations about the debt. On the other hand, lenders easily fall into feelings of disappointment, anger, or exploitation when money isn't repaid as expected. They may struggle to express these feelings tactfully, causing conflicts and growing distance in the relationship. To keep the relationship healthy, open and honest dialogue is crucial. Lenders should create a safe space for borrowers to share difficulties without judgment or pressure. Instead of using rigid or threatening language, try understanding and collaboratively finding solutions. Borrowers also need to be responsible by honestly communicating their ability to repay and proactively staying in touch. Avoiding or staying silent only worsens the situation. Cooperating and renegotiating repayment plans helps reduce stress and preserve goodwill. If things get complicated, consider documenting agreements or involving a third-party mediator to protect both sides without harming the relationship. Saying no is one of the most important skills, but not always easy, especially when you don't want to hurt or disappoint others. Yet, maintaining personal boundaries is essential to protect your mental health and avoid unnecessary stress. First, remember that refusing doesn't make you selfish or uncaring. On the contrary, it shows respect for yourself and recognition of the value of your time and energy. Saying yes to every unsuitable request leads to burnout and imbalance. One gentle way to say no is by using understanding and sharing phrases like, "I really want to help, but right now I have too much on my plate. I hope you understand." This expresses care while setting clear limits. You can also offer alternatives or support in other ways instead of direct help. For example, "I can't help directly with this, but I can connect you with someone else or help you find information." This shows sincerity without overloading yourself. Also, say no early and clearly to avoid misunderstandings or prolonging uncomfortable situations. Delays often increase pressure and guilt. Practice refusal phrases that fit your personality and situation. Saying no doesn't always require harsh words. Your body language and tone also greatly influence how respect and goodwill are communicated. Finally, remember personal boundaries are shields protecting you from being taken advantage of and help maintain healthy, lasting relationships. When you set limits, others learn to respect you and understand how you can help. Have you ever agreed to help with something you knew wasn't your responsibility? Maybe a co-worker asking you to cover their work, or a family member delegating tasks beyond your role. Though you start with goodwill, these small favors can cost you dearly in physical and mental health. Taking on too many responsibilities not your own creates unnecessary burdens and drains your precious energy. Moreover, you unintentionally prevent others from developing their own independence and problem-solving skills. If you always carry the load, how can those around you learn self-reliance? Especially if you're always ready to take on everything, people tend to expect you to always do so, risking overload, exhaustion, and feelings of being exploited. Unfortunately, those asking for help often don't realize the negative impact they cause, since they haven't faced the consequences of their choices. To break this cycle, you need to set clear boundaries and communicate them politely but firmly. You can say, "I'd love to help, but I think you can handle this on your own," or "I'm unable to take on that responsibility right now." These aren't selfish words, but necessary self-care to protect mental health and maintain lasting relationships. Sometimes, friends, family, or co-workers share secrets with you, asking you to keep them confidential as a favor. At first, this may feel like a sign of deep trust and closeness. However, agreeing to guard secrets you shouldn't carry can place you under significant stress and pressure. Keeping secrets not only adds emotional burden, but may also harm trust and integrity in your relationship. Before agreeing, ask yourself, why does this need to be hidden? Should I really be responsible for this? You're often put in a protector role, even when it contradicts your values or creates mental strain you shouldn't bear. Holding a secret that isn't yours can reduce mental well-being and affect your decision-making and behavior. Remember, protecting others never means sacrificing your peace or values. Knowing when to say no in these cases is the best way to stay clear-headed and safeguard important relationships. In today's connected, tech-driven world, accessing personal information, emails, or data outside your responsibility is easier than ever. But this convenience comes with boundaries that are easily crossed. Many of us have at least once felt tempted to peek at someone else's emails or private chats, or been asked to access information not ours to see. It might seem harmless at first, but the consequences can be serious. If you've ever been asked to do something like this, Pay close attention to the discomfort you feel inside. That's your most important warning sign. No matter how close the person making the request is, invading someone else's privacy, whether intentionally or accidentally, can damage your reputation, credibility, and relationships. Moreover, unauthorized access to personal information can have legal consequences depending on local laws. If discovered, you could be seen as disrespecting privacy, which negatively impacts both your personal life and professional career. That's why, when faced with such requests, it's crucial to clearly define your personal boundaries and protect the privacy of both yourself and others. Saying no firmly is the best way to maintain integrity, preserve relationships, and avoid unnecessary trouble. Many of us, in an effort to avoid conflict and please others, tend to put their feelings and needs ahead of our own. Though this often starts from kindness and a desire to keep the peace, over time, it causes significant harm to ourselves. Constantly prioritizing others' emotions can trap you in a cycle of disappointment and resentment. When your own needs and desires go unmet, feelings of emptiness and mental exhaustion gradually build. Eventually, you might start believing your health and happiness don't matter or aren't worth attention. While self-sacrifice may seem like a way to avoid conflict or protect others from discomfort, over the long run, it harms you and negatively affects your relationships. Loved ones may unconsciously expect you to always sacrifice, causing you to lose your identity and personal value. Balancing caring for others and taking care of yourself is essential. Prioritizing your emotional health isn't selfish. It's a sign of self-respect and clear self-worth. Learning to say no to favors that require self-sacrifice is proof that you know how to protect your inner peace. When you always say yes to every request, you're actually denying yourself the right to peace and self-care. Saying no is one of the essential skills for protecting your mental health, time, and energy. Yet many hesitate, fearing disappointment or losing support, so they reluctantly agree or avoid refusal. In reality, saying no isn't selfish but a way to respect yourself and the other person. When you learn to decline gracefully and sincerely, you protect yourself while maintaining trust and respect in your relationships. To say no effectively, be upfront, clear, and sincere. For example, if you can't help someone, say, "I really want to help, but right now I have too much to focus on. I hope you understand." This conveys respect while setting clear boundaries. Also, if you can't assist directly, offer alternatives like referring them to someone else or providing useful information. This shows goodwill and willingness to help without overloading yourself. Another key is showing empathy when refusing. Saying, "I understand this is important to you, but I can't take on more right now," shows understanding while maintaining your boundaries. Also, don't delay saying no. Early refusal helps both parties clarify and find solutions sooner, avoiding prolonged pressure or guilt. Besides words, body language plays a crucial role in refusal. Maintain eye contact, keep confident posture, and use a calm tone to express sincerity and firmness, avoiding misunderstandings or unnecessary tension. Practicing this skill increases your confidence in setting boundaries while preserving healthy and lasting relationships. Saying no is not just about protecting yourself, but is an art of communication that helps you live happier, healthier, and more balanced in all relationships. Benefits of setting boundaries and saying no the right way: building balanced life and healthy relationships. Knowing how to set boundaries and say no tactfully not only protects you from mental and physical burnout, but also brings profound benefits to your life and relationships. First, clear boundaries help you manage your time and energy more effectively. When you no longer say yes to every request, you have more time for what truly matters: personal goals, health, family, and hobbies. This reduces stress, prevents overload, and improves life quality. Moreover, maintaining boundaries fosters respect from others. When you consistently and firmly communicate your limits, people learn how to treat you appropriately and won't take advantage of your generosity. This not only protects you from exploitation, but also builds a foundation for relationships based on mutual respect and understanding. Setting boundaries also contributes to developing confidence and self-esteem. When you learn to say no without feeling guilty or fearing rejection, you're truly affirming your own value. This confidence radiates through every aspect of your life, helping you communicate more effectively and build a positive personal image. Additionally, knowing when to say no helps you avoid unnecessary conflicts and complications. Instead of bearing the pressure and stress of overcommitting, you maintain emotional balance and steer clear of needless arguments. Ultimately, establishing boundaries and declining appropriately is the best way to care for yourself, the foundation that enables you to genuinely, sustainably, and effectively help others. The journey of building boundaries, a turning point for a meaningful and sustainable life. Modern life constantly moves and presents us with countless external and internal demands and challenges. Amidst all this chaos, building and maintaining personal boundaries becomes one of the most important factors not just for survival, but for thriving. Learning to recognize seemingly simple yeses that carry hidden risks, mastering the art of wisely saying no, and balancing helping others with protecting yourself is no easy path. But it is the way to preserve mental health, safeguard your time and energy, and cultivate lasting, healthy relationships. Setting boundaries isn't selfishness, it's proof of your maturity, self-respect, and dignity. When you respect yourself, you teach others to respect you. Boundaries help you distinguish what you can accept and what you need to refuse in order not to lose yourself. Saying no doesn't mean closing the door on all opportunities or relationships. Rather, it's a wise choice to invest time and energy into what truly deserves and matters. It helps you avoid needless drain, maintain inner peace, and feel freer in life. Throughout this journey, you've learned how to observe and handle seemingly small but impactful favors, how to uphold boundaries through words and actions, and how to build confidence to live authentically without being swayed by social pressure or others' expectations. Remember, self-care is not a luxury, but a prerequisite for loving, helping, and connecting with those around you sincerely and sustainably. You deserve a full, meaningful, and happy life. Start with the smallest actions. Learn to say no when needed, value your time and energy, and courageously set clear limits in every relationship. Every step on this path brings you closer to the best version of yourself. Thank you for patiently accompanying me through this important journey. I believe that with perseverance and determination, you will create the fulfilling, peaceful, and joyful life you deserve. See you next time, where we'll explore more secrets to enhance life quality and relationships.